Alright, that sounds super dope actually. Like, that's probably my favorite loop that I have made in a while. Shout out to Arcade, because that sounds tight. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to anyone that just randomly clicked on this video. I do appreciate it. And before we get into today's tips, which are going to be very helpful, I guarantee it, just kind of wanted to give you guys an update on this channel and what I'm kind of going to be focusing on moving forward. And I'm assuming if you clicked on this video, you're probably someone that's interested in improving as a producer. And so one of the things that I thought would be really helpful for everyone is if I kind of document, one, what I'm personally doing to improve as a producer, so like tips and tricks, tutorial videos and that sort of thing, as well as document me like reaching out to different artists, collabing with different artists, collabing with different producers, things I'm doing to kind of like build my brand as a producer, and just kind of that stuff in general. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure to subscribe to kind of keep updated on the journey. I'm gonna try to keep every video kind of like relating to the other one, so it's kind of like a story in a sense. But yeah, looking forward to whoever joins me on this journey. But without further ado, let's get into those tips. Alright, so before I start cooking up a beat, and I'm going to give you guys tons of really good tips while I'm doing that, there is just one tip that I've been doing over the past couple of months that has really helped me out, that I think will help a lot of you guys out as well, and that's what I like to call targeted practicing. And basically what targeted practicing is it's focusing on a specific area of your beat making skills that you really want to improve upon. So for example, let's say that your melodies are kind of weak, but your drums are really good and your arrangement and that sort of thing. However, right now what you're probably doing is you're probably just making a bunch of beats and then hoping to improve your melodies by doing that. But let's say it takes you typically like an hour to make a full beat, and of that hour you spend about 30 minutes making melodies. By doing targeted practice, what you'd want to do is, instead of making a full beat, you'd want to just focus on making a melody. That way, within that hour time that you'd spend typically making a full beat, you'd be able to make 2 melodies in that time, because you wouldn't be making the beats anymore. You'd just be focusing on that melody. And so by doing that, you're getting to practice your melody skills specifically twice as much. So just by doing that, and you don't have to do it every day, you can still make full beats and stuff like that, you'll really notice a big improvement in whatever area you decide to kind of focus on and do targeted practicing. To get started, I'm going to lay down some chords using this flute, and I'm going to make it kind of repetitive. Alright, so that sounds pretty good, but I'm going to throw some halftime on it real quick just to make it sound a little bit kind of darker. Alright, so that sounds perfect. Another important thing to keep in mind when you're making your melodies is sound selection. So you want to choose sounds that kind of complement each other and are similar but don't occupy the same frequencies, otherwise it'll sound really muddy. Okay, that sounds good. Let me copy this over. Okay. So one easy way to kind of change up this melody so it's not totally redundant the entire time is to just flip around these last few notes, just because I mean, we're only using like 2 notes for this, and it's not too big of a change, so it ends up sounding pretty good. Perfect. That kind of like makes it sit in the background a little bit more, but it's still prevalent enough that it just sounds good. All right, so those are working together pretty well thus far. I'm gonna add one more instrument though. Let me go into Arcade. I want to add some vocals. So what I'm gonna do here, and I think this should work, is because if you look at these ghost notes right here, they're pretty much all the same up until like the end. Like even these notes up top, there's only like one difference between these 3 bars here. Is I'm gonna have something that sounds the same play through the first 3 bars and then changes at the end. And I think that should sound pretty good. So I'm just gonna go through some of the sounds on here. All right, that definitely works. That sounds pretty fire. I just need something for the end though. No. That might sound good. Let's see how it sounds. All right, let's hear how this sounds without this right here though, just because I think these last notes are kind of getting in the way. All right, that sounds super dope actually. That's probably my favorite loop that I have made in a while. Shout out to Arcade, because that sounds tight. All right, so on to the drums now. And just like you want the different instruments to work together for the melodies, you want the drums to do the same with the melody as well as themselves, just to kind of create like a good bounce, a good rhythm, and that sort of thing. And one of the ways you can do that is by adding some extra bounce through your hi-hats, but at the same time not making them overly complex. And one of the ways I like to do this is I'll basically go in, choose a sound. So let's just go with this hi-hat, and I'll basically have it hitting on every other step. But then what I'll do to add some extra bounce but not make things overly complicated with a bunch of different rolls and stuff like that is I'll take another hi-hat and just play it on some of the same steps as this one. So let me do that to show you guys what it sounds like. All right, so let me just solo these hi-hats real quick and I'll show you how it sounds and how it adds like a little bit extra bounce. See, it's like really subtle. And then when you add the clap and everything else, you can really feel how it adds some additional bounce without overcomplicating things, which is important, especially if you want artists on. So let's add the 808s. I'm just going to be following the root notes for this.